G'day nationalists and patriots. On October 4th, 2015, while I was at the UPF, me and two co-accused participated in what was a mock beheading outside Bendigo Council. Now, as you're aware by the video that's been up on the UNA page, there is a court date on March 6, 2017 because we've been charged under the Racial and Religious Tolerance Act. I'd like to thank those who have already donated to the bank account that was nominated on the UNA page. Now, this is just an update. Preparations are going well, and I'd like to assure those who have already donated that we will fight this hard. Australia is in a ridiculous situation at the moment, and thanks to what I believe is multiculturalism, we've been repaid for being nice and allowing other peoples to come from other nations that are not white to come to Australia, and we ended up with these laws, and we've had what is a constant, gradual attack on what is freedom of expression. The triggered, progressive leftards who have infiltrated society basically go around lobbying governments that these people have no right to say this anymore. And unfortunately, they do have some influence because we have certain cases that have been prominent. For example, the three young men from Queensland University of Technology who thankfully had their case thrown out because of a mischievous complaint by an Aboriginal woman. Now, they complained about the computer room that was supposed to be reserved for Indigenous people only, and they just complained, well, isn't this segregation? You're fighting segregation with segregation. And another comment was, where's the white supremacist computer room? As a complaint for what was essentially a racist application by the Queensland University of Technology. But we know that the progressive mindset states that to be this way towards white man is acceptable because for some reason, according to the left-hard mind, that we've got to pay for the rest of eternity for the so-called deeds of our colonial ancestors. Forget the fact that white man is the only race that put an abolition to slavery. That doesn't matter. Facts don't matter. It's a question of having this progressive Marxist ideology permeate our learning institutions and teaching our young and teaching our people to be triggered, to be emotional, without substantiating any facts at all. At least the judge saw through this frivolous complaint and threw it out. So I'd like to say to that judge, God bless you for being objective. Then there's the case of this young woman, a so-called Indigenous student, Melissa Dennison. She made a complaint against the cartoonist Bill Leak of The Australian, and as you see, the cartoon depicts an Aboriginal cop bringing home a delinquent Aboriginal child to what perceived to be a delinquent Aboriginal father. It was obviously a cartoon, so artistic expression. Because facts don't matter anymore, have a look at the photo for yourself. Miss Melissa Dennison is offended because of her Aboriginality, what little she has of it. Now, genetically, you cannot be Aboriginal unless you're half or more. Now, I'm using New Zealand law to actually cite this because it works on the basis that you've got to be at least half Maori. But the fact is, in Australia, you can have a very small amount of Aboriginal in you, and you can have all the rights and privileges that the state and federal acts provide because you happen to be Indigenous, and because you have that small amount of blood in you, you can have all the political and financial advantages which are associated with it. That must change, in my opinion, because let's just compare a picture of her to what is a real Aboriginal. And I say to these leftards, I know facts don't matter to you because you're going to be triggered and I'm going to be called racist and Nazi and xenophobe and bigot, you know, same thing. To be Aboriginal, it is genetic. If you're not at least half Aboriginal, say you're only 1/10, 1/4, below half, you are more of something else. That's what science and that's what biology teaches. So the laws need to reflect that. And I'm going to say a major statement. If we are to preserve Aboriginal culture, you must preserve the racial bloodline to preserve that culture, because culture is developed from the instincts of a particular people. Now, we've got celebrity Indigenous people in Australia, and I just want to ask the question. The Michael Long, Adam Goodes, Ernie Dingo, Kathy Freeman. I just ask the question, why is it that if Aboriginal culture is so important to you, why is it that you've married outside your race? That's just a question. It is a legitimate question, because I go back to the same thing. If you really want to preserve your culture, you've got to marry within your own race to preserve your racial bloodline. Through preserving your racial bloodline, you are actually helping to preserve Aboriginal culture. It's much more to deep down instinct, which is built within the genome of a person, to come out with that instinct, which will be a reflection of your cultural makeup, your cultural practices. I know what a true Aboriginal looks like because I've been to places like Catherine Gorge, Kakadu, Northern Territory. Back to my case. I ask that you all continue to donate. The bank details will come up, because it's about time that we as nationalists and we as those who call themselves patriots, this is not about my specific political view or a patriot's specific political view. What it is that we must rise up and overthrow these stupid laws which restrict freedom of expression and freedom of speech. We have a legal argument and we will vigorously use it. The fact is, by stifling free speech, by stifling freedom of expression, the government uses these tools so that they can implement unjust laws and legislation which only further increases their power and reduce our freedom. So please continue to donate to the bank account nominated, which will come up on your screen. And let's rise as a people to show the government and the courts that this is unacceptable. These racial vilification laws, they need to be thrown out in their entirety, because the courtroom is not meant to be a place for people that have hurt feelings, or someone has said something about your religion, your race, that you really don't like. It's called have a cup of concrete and harden the fuck up.